All right, well, here we are for round 3. We won the die roll. We're gonna go ahead and play first. This is an interesting hand because this hand doesn't really have much in the way of action, but it has great ramp. If we draw any sort of significant threat, we're able to play like Mystic into whatever it is. I'm gonna keep this. It's definitely a little bit potentially a little bit loose if we don't draw into any of our big threats, but being able to accelerate into like Dragon, Sarkhan, any of those things pretty quickly is very valuable, and we do have we have a reasonable amount of like power if our opponent doesn't have like a great draw in his own right. So it's a little bit of a loose hand, but given that this is like if this was like Elvish Mystic, I don't think it'd be close. But given that it has Rattle Claw as well. All right, and our opponent is playing an apparently aggressive red deck. I would have loved if this was a Scry land rather than a Gain Life land, but I'm gonna go ahead and play it like this because rather than playing the Rattle Claw Mystic, I want to be able to potentially morph the Rattle Claw, particularly against an aggressive red deck because the 2 toughness can be pretty relevant. So this is actually kind of interesting. I can choose to play my Mystic face down or say go. If my opponent has Rabble Master, I'd much rather Lightning Strike it right now than just have the Rattle Claw in play. So I'm actually just going to say go because if he plays like Rabble Master, I want to be able to kill it, and this doesn't really do anything. Considering he's going to be able to like just buff this guy to the point that it is able to attack through it. So. All right, well, no Rabble Master just yet, but and this is the matchup where a lot of my sideboard cards will come in very handy. Like if I had an Arc Lightning here, for instance, my opponent would just be totally dead. So I kind of want to just Lightning Strike the Fire Drink Crusader because it's potentially a significant threat here. So we're gonna go ahead and just do that right now. We'll take 3. All right, this is actually a pretty reasonable draw. Phoenix can actually block multiple times, which is pretty nice against the mono red decks. You don't really need that much. The big body is like the big flying body. Mostly it has value in just its ability to continue to trade against small guys. Right, well, there is Heel Cutter. Okay, well we're not gonna be able to trade against that. Heel Cutter is actually kind of gross. Maybe I wish I could Lightning Strike that at this point, but. It actually works also very well with the Denizens, which is kind of gross. So we're taking 7 damage here. And this is not working out very well for us. I'm going to cast Face Down, play a land. Say go. So the Heel Cutter is going to come in and most likely make this unable to block, I guess. And then we'll trade with it with the other one, potentially. The Heel Cutter's gross. We definitely need our just cheap removal here. Yep, Heel Cutter comes down. Assume he's going to make the Phoenix able to block. Yep, maybe we'll trade off this guy. We don't have any Pelucranoses in this build, which is something that I certainly like having against red decks. And my opponent has 3 cards in hand, which is not a good spot for us. We're at 7 life. Any amount of burn is likely to kill us. Even just more like can't block effects is a serious problem. We are going to be dead. Taking 4 here. Yeah, nothing's really going to let us come back from this, I don't think. We do get to sideboard quite a few cards, though, which is nice. Ooh, Stormbreath Dragon. Well, I guess we're casting this. We gotta sack this land. I'm sure we're dead, but yep, we're dead. So sideboard wise here, we're looking to get rid of a lot of our, sort of just inefficient stuff against small creatures and play stuff that is powerful. So Chandra is actually quite powerful here. Similarly, Arc Lightning and Wild Slash are both great. Sarkhan is pretty poor. Critter's Claws is also like kind of mediocre. We don't actually have that many ways to turn it on early that are particularly efficient, and I'd rather have just these things to use to be able to kill the cheaper stuff. I think Flaming Phoenix is really bad here. It's not in any way like an attrition based match. I actually kind of like Xenagos in this matchup once I have a bunch of cheap removal, because it can soak damage, which is kind of valuable. If my opponent doesn't kill it right away, just continues to produce guys who are actually quite good at stopping what the opponent has going on. Shaman of the Great Hound is also kind of terrible, so we'll bring in 3 Xenagoses, I think, and take out 2 Crater's Claws. So this is not a particularly great setup here overall. Like cards like Boon Satyr, are obviously not good against like 1-cost 2/1s, but it is kind of nice to be able to potentially ambush someone that can't block effect. But having a bunch of cheap removal and then some value planeswalkers, I think, is the best way to try and go about actually combating this. Not having any copies of Polukranos definitely makes this a tougher matchup than it is when you do have a bunch of the giant green hydras to get in the way. But we're gonna go ahead and give this a shot from here. All right, we'll go ahead and play first, and this is a fine hand. I'm gonna go ahead and keep it. We have a cheap removal, and then we have our own Rabble Masters. So trying to get ahead on the board and be able to get our own sort of offense going. Our opponent needs to kill these. It's not an amazing hand, but we do have cheap interaction and then relatively cheap threats, and can't really ask for too much more than that. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and just play. I think. Well, it's interesting. Whether I want to play Temple or Mountain turn 1. Mountain lets me obviously play the Wild Slash immediately, but I don't know that there's a ton of necessarily need for that. I'm gonna go ahead and play the Temple. We don't have like a turn 2 play that we really want to be able to Wild Slash off of, but now we do, so that's kind of awkward. If we had just played Mountain, Wild Slash, and then drawn that, it would actually worked out better mana-wise for us. But here, I think that's actually better off. I think I'm better off just playing the Heir of the Wilds. We saw that our opponent has Heel Cutters, and it's potentially reasonable that we want to save Wild Slash or something like Heel Cutter, or something like Searing Blood, or something like his Rabble Masters. So Searing Blood's pretty brutal there. Well, we're gonna go ahead and start with our own Rabble Master, get our beatdown on. The next turn, be able to cast Rabble Master plus Wild Slash is actually pretty great, because we get to continue to develop our board and play a cheap removal spell to deal with what our opponent plays, and that is just a pretty big tempo swing, especially if he plays something like Magma Spray. Okay, well, we still have another Rabble Master, Mardu Scout. All right, well, that's another thing that we'd love to be able to Wild Slash, because it does have synergies here. Taking a beatdown, not gonna lie. So I'm going to go ahead and play Rabble Master. We're going to leave up the Temple and not play Wild Slash here. Maybe we actually... You could argue that I could play Elvish Mystic, because both of the things that we have seen out of our opponent are things that Elvish Mystic can trade with, and that may be... Yeah, I'm actually going to play Elvish Mystic rather than hold up Wild Slash. Elvish Mystic being able to trade with either this or Mardu Scout is a better use of using Wild Slash, which is a pretty high value removal card to deal with either of them. All right, well, he's lightning striking that. If he plays Mardu Scout here, we can just trade with it with the Elvish Mystic. All right, just gonna play a Foundry Street, and I'm gonna go ahead and trade here. So this gets us pretty reasonable value out of that Elvish Mystic. All right, now we have lands, which is not really what we're looking for. These guys don't have to attack anymore though, so I'm just gonna sit back and relax and enjoy the show. Use my goblins defensively, and hope to draw some of our high impact stuff. and say go. Again, saving this for like Heel Cutter or a Rabble Master. Right now these goblins are like, you know, totally holding off his guys, and that's fine. All right, we're just gonna block the 2 scouts here and let this guy hit us. I don't want, you know, this guy is at this point in the game fairly low value for him. It requires, you know, investment to get him above just 1 damage. All right, well there's Rabble Master for us. So we really want to draw again is like one of our planeswalkers, like Xenagos or Chandra. Either one would be just fantastic here. Chandra would be able to clear this and then give me a steady stream of cards. All right, this guy I'm going to kill because this is now at the point that this is like a real threat. We're going to take the 2. It's a lot of land. I'm gonna attack with all of them. We need to clock him here. Like if he plays any red creature, he can, you know, keep me from being able to effectively block. If he has a burn spell, you know, he could kill this and start attacking me. 1 damage a turn is, you know, not worth holding back my Rabble Master and not hitting him for 4. All right, well there's that. So now Storm Breath. All right, here we go. So that was pretty good. And again, I'm gonna stick with this configuration. I think that having, you know, just a bunch of cheap removal and then like threats that generate cards that generate value over your opponent's threats, stuff like, you know, the Xenagos and Chandras, and even their Rabble Master. You know, we saw the Rabble Master, just the goblins that were generated by Rabble Master represented, you know, a significant amount of value, not just damage to my opponent, but they traded with his creatures. So certainly a very valuable card in this matchup. All right, this hand is pretty good. Like if it weren't for Arc Lightning, this hand would be very bad, but Arc Lightning is so good in this matchup that I think that I'm just going to go ahead and keep this. And like Arc Lightning into Xenagos has the potential to really shut my opponent down. Swift Spear is very good against Arc Lightning though, which is unfortunate. I was kind of hoping for him to. Ooh, okay. Well, now we'll just Wild Slash that. Yeah, I'm just gonna get rid of this right away. Alright, this hand is now great, having drawn that second Wild Slash. So if he plays like a, you know, a Rabble Master, we can kill it pre-combat. Make sure. Frenzied Goblin, okay. That is not really what I wanted to Wild Slash or Arc Lightning, so I'm just gonna let that be. Maybe I'll just play a Morph. Yeah, I think I do. If he has like a Searing Blood or something, I don't want to just be able to Searing Blood and kill Xenagos. I'd rather he just, no. Not all that much incentive to do this. It's also just a Frenzied Goblin, so I'm just going to say go. He may play something that I can get additional value off of the Arc Lightning with the Frenzied Goblin as well. Alright, 1 damage. So his hand must be full of burn spells. So I actually think what makes the most sense for me to play here is this Ashcloud Phoenix. If I play Xenagos and he has like Searing Blood, Xenagos doesn't really do anything, but if I play Ashcloud Phoenix and he has Searing Blood, the Phoenix actually, you know, comes back, soaks a bit of damage. He kept 7 cards, so he didn't even play anything in a turn. Maybe he's debating whether he wants to play something like Searing Blood. All right, there's Wild Slash, comes back. Can't block. Okay, it will not block. Alright, well, we're just going to Xenagos. I guess I actually don't want to Xenagos and attack with both. No, I'm just going to attack and play Xenagos, make a guy. He may like use a removal spell on this. This at least, like, even though he can Frenzied Goblin it, I think this actually, maybe that was dumb. Maybe it was basically just missed 2 damage because he does have the Frenzied Goblin. Yeah, that was probably dumb. I was thinking about like just removal spells versus this, not the fact that he already has Frenzied Goblin in play. Heel Cutter. All right, well, Xenagos is going to be dead. And that's fine. We do get to play Rabble Master with Wild Slash up next turn, and still have our Satyr around. Obviously, it would have been better if we just actually dealt damage to our opponent rather than holding back to block nothing. But ooh, a life point is good. We always like life. So his hand is just a bunch of heel cutters or something. No, there's Searing Blood. All right. Well, he should be at 12. If we lose with him at 2 life, we are fools. True fools. All right. Wild Slash this. Kapow. Kill you. Look at how good these just cheap removal spells are. In the first game we had, you know, some awkwardness with just a bunch of relatively expensive guys, but now, you know, being able to deal with our opponent's early dudes efficiently, and in particular being able to develop our own board while doing so is just, you know, so valuable. Lightning Strike that. Okay, well, we're just gonna go ahead and play a dragon. I'm hard pressed to see myself losing this game at this point. He should actually be dead next turn to our attacks, but instead he may, like, even just, you know, with me playing nothing else, but instead he is at 8 instead of 6. So Stoke. Okay, dragon dead. Yeah, I mean, now though, like, we're still just attack with another dragon. But I think it's interesting. One thing I do think it's interesting to think about in this game is, like, you know, the value of Xenagos. Like, Xenagos absorbing damage to my face, in addition to, you know, generating a threat that's actually been dealing, you know, a significant amount of damage. He would be dead if we attacked that turn, by the way. Magma Spray my Satyr. All right, so yeah, I mean, Xenagos was super, super impactful this game. And it's not the sort of card you think is like, okay, well, this is a card that I want against mono red aggro, but it's definitely the sort of card that matches up well when you have a large amount of cheap removal to, you know, make it so that your opponent can't just you know, wipe it out with their early aggression. If you are able to, like, Wild Slash, Arc Lightning, and use things like that to stop their early creatures, Xenagos is like just a value factory, and that's kind of what you're looking for in the sort of middle of the game. So looks like dragons are enough to take it down. And I suspect we will see more of that once the next set comes out. Oh, Frenzy Goblin, he gets me right in the face. But this is also, like, one of the things that is powerful in the mono red decks against opposing creature decks, and frequently against opposing green creature decks, is their ability to nullify the effectiveness of blocking. Something like Pelucranos can actually sometimes, you know, not be quite enough. can sometimes not be quite enough to actually secure the game, because your opponent can play stuff like Heel Cutter or Frenzy Goblin, or Hammer Hand or whatever else to keep you from being able to block. But when you actually have just cheap removal to nullify their significant threats, then cards like Frenzy Goblin, like Heel Cutter, they become much less impactful, because the can't block effect doesn't represent nearly as much damage as when your opponent does have a significant number of threats in play. And Rah Dragon. And we win. So there we go, 3-0. The deck, I mean, we didn't run into the deck that I kind of most wanted to sort of have a chance to test the sort of flying package out against, which was the green-white Devotion deck. But definitely displayed that this deck has the tools to compete against a lot of other decks in the metagame. None of the matchups that we played were well, actually that's not true. The first matchup we played against Blue Black Control was one where the sort of Phoenix package is very effective. We never actually drew it there. We did draw it against Jeskai when we should have already severed it out, and it was not good there. But I do think that the sort of hard-hitting, aggressive, evasive creatures that Red offers definitely complement the sort of mana acceleration and sort of early threats of the green deck well. So anyway, this is definitely something that I want to continue to explore once Dragons of Tarkir comes out. I think it's a reasonable option for those of you who are looking for something to play in the waning days of this standard format. So anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time, perhaps with more Dragons.